We've got Hyun Hak. You could call her a total shut-in, a complete recluse. But it's not just that she's shy or anything. This girl has a gift, or maybe it's a curse, and it's to see something no one is meant to know. These glowing red threads floating above everyone's heads. From the time she was a little kid, Hyun Hak was the only one who could see these red strings. At first, she had no idea what they meant. That is, until her mom saw a family drawing, and went completely ballistic, grabbing a knife and stabbing her husband without a second thought. In that moment, Hyun Hak realized that seeing these red threads could literally drive people to murder. So understandably, Hyun Hak went into complete lockdown. She became a hikikomori, a total homebody, living in complete isolation. And get this, she's tried to end it all multiple times, attempting suicide in crazy ways. But every single time, it's like her body heals itself. She is basically unkillable. Since she can't die, Hyun Hak makes a choice. She decides she needs to figure out what these red threads mean. She needs to understand if there's any way to break this curse. Now, outside her apartment, the sweet neighbor across the way drops off some food for her. They have windows facing each other. But Hyun Hak is way too nervous to interact directly. She waits until the neighbor is gone before she snatches the gift and starts scarfing it down. Meanwhile, down at the police station, we meet Detective Han. And let's be honest, this guy is good looking, but he totally abuses his charm. He is literally taking advantage of a married woman, using his looks to get what he wants. But this time, he's about to get lucky when he suddenly remembers he has something important to do, leaving her high and dry. And Detective Han's niece? She's getting absolutely bullied at school. Her classmates are using her like a punching bag, constantly extorting money from her. To make matters worse, because Seon A called the cops, the head bully is threatening to give her a beating. She'll never forget. Back to Detective Han, he's currently investigating a murder. The victim? Hyun Hak's neighbor across the street. According to the female investigator on the case, a man wearing a motorcycle helmet was seen visiting the neighbor early in the morning. Back at the precinct, Han's stumped. There's no sign of sexual assault, and the victim wasn't known to have any enemies. What's the motive? Hyun Hak's life continues pretty uneventfully, until she receives a bag of apples with a note inside. The note reads, "The third woman in the area has been murdered." She doesn't really react. She starts munching on the apples. Then she hears a news report about the third murder in the area. And that's when she notices something. The reporter on the TV has a red thread above his head. So that night, Hyun Hak stands guard at her door, peering through the peephole. She spots a delivery man, who looks exactly like the reporter on TV. Hyun Hak frantically grabs her phone, but of course, it's dead. She plugs it in, absolutely terrified that another murder is about to go down across the street. Just as the delivery man arrives at the neighbor's door, her phone finally gets some power. Hyun Hak dials 911 to report what she saw. But the second she hangs up, she sees the two people from across the street jump each other's bones. Turns out, she totally misread the situation. He wasn't a murderer. He was just a guy cheating on his wife. That's when it clicks for Hyun Hak. The red threads aren't about who someone's going to kill. They represent the number of people they've cheated on. Now she understands why her mom killed her dad all those years ago. It wasn't about some random act of violence. It was because she saw the red thread connecting him to her sister. Cut back to Detective Han. He gets home after a long night shift and finds his niece skipping school, begging for money. He gets suspicious and checks her out. That's when he sees the bruises all over her body. This kid's getting bullied at school. All of a sudden, he understands her reason for needing the money. As if he didn't have enough to deal with, he gets a call about a suspicious 911 call from the previous night, coming from Hyun Hak's apartment complex. He immediately heads across the street to Hyun Hak's place to ask if she made the call. The moment Hyun Hak sees Detective Han, she's stunned. His head is covered in a tangled mess of red threads. He slept with a lot of people. But the other neighbors tell Han that Hyun Hak is a total recluse, practically a shut-in. They even need to take out her trash for her. Han doesn't give up easily. He keeps pressing Hyun Hak for information about the previous night, and she finally admits she just made a mistake and misread the situation. That night, another deliveryman shows up at Hyun Hak's building. But unlike the guy from the night before, this guy only has a single red thread above his head, and he's staring right at her apartment through the peephole. Meanwhile, Seon A, still desperate for money, since her uncle didn't give her any, spots a woman withdrawing cash from an ATM and decides to target her. But right when she's about to make her move, a group of people walks by, foiling her robbery attempt. Back at the police station, the younger detective tells Ji-gook that the recent murders might be linked to a man living in apartment 303. He lives really close to both of the murdered women. And get this, he worked out at the same gym as the second victim. Ji-gook is intrigued and asks for a picture. He instantly recognizes him as the guy in Hyunhak's building. He realizes this man might be tracking the routines of all the women in the complex, which means they can't rule him out as a suspect. A phone call comes in for Hyunhak, and it sends him to a familiar location. He immediately jumps in his car and speeds off to the hospital. A frantic nurse tells him that his family member, who was recently admitted, has gone missing. He rushes up to the roof and sees his relative about to jump. But here's the shocker, Ji-gook doesn't try to stop them. He is just standing there as if he is expecting them to jump. Meanwhile, the younger detective, the subordinate, goes to the victim's apartment to look for any clues and doesn't know that he is being watched. He calls Ji-gook to report his findings. Just before the man from apartment 303 ambushes him with a baseball bat, the detective keeps fighting for his life, which makes Ji-gook step on the pedal and race to his partner for help. But it is too late. Turns out, the delivery guy, the murderer from the recent cases, is the guy from apartment 303. Hyunhak hears footsteps slowly approaching. She frantically tries to call the police, but her phone's dead. She looks up and sees his red thread connecting to the apartment above hers. Grabbing a knife, she steels herself to do something she hasn't done in 15 years. Leave her apartment. But she's shaky. She looks like she doesn't even have the power to take a single step. Suddenly, everything fades to black, and Hyunhak finds herself reunited with her mom, the woman who stabbed her dad to death for cheating on her. It is then revealed that the guy from apartment 303 has the same ability to see red threads as Hyunhak. However, he can only see the threads connecting to the people he intends to kill. At first glance, he and his girlfriend look like a couple, but the woman has slept with a ton of different guys, and he hates people who have had a lot of partners. He's so consumed by hatred that he wants to kill them all. Just then, Hyunhak, weak and trembling, runs up. The killer sneers at her. "What can you do, shaking like that? If you want to stab someone, you gotta do it like this." He stabs her in the gut, and she collapses to the ground. Just as Ji-gook arrives, he sees Hyunhak's glasses on the floor, and the 303 continuing to murder people with the threads linking to him. Ji-gook rushes into Hyunhak's apartment, and only finds the threads sketched everywhere on the wall. As she peers out the window, she witnesses her neighbor attempting to assault two women. Without thinking twice, he pulls out his gun, waits for the perfect moment, and shoots the killer dead in his tracks. Ji-gook has been waiting for Hyunhak to stab 303 in the leg, and while she does, he has his gun ready, and shoots 303 dead in the heart. As he dies, the red thread vanishes, freeing him from his obsession. Hyunhak is stunned to learn that someone else in the world knew about the red threads. Ji-gook hands her back her glasses. Hyunhak just stares, stone-faced, towards someone else just like her. Ji-gook then asks about the killer. Just then his niece, Seon-ae, comes home. Once inside, Ji-gook tells her, "Tell me about what you've been going through at schools." Seon-ae refuses, arguing that her uncle wouldn't be able to solve anything. "You never cared before, so don't pretend you do now." Still, Seon-ae is curious. What was Hyunhak doing outside? Seon-ae knows all about Hyunhak's past, how her mother murdered her father and then ran away. As for Hyunhak, after realizing that the red threads could actually save people, she takes off her glasses and chooses to face the world, with all its complicated connections. According to statistics in Korea, the number of teenagers with sexual experience is estimated to be around 170. Oh, but is that the real number? What about the bullying and abuse of girls like Seon-ae? They are victims. The next day, Hyunhak receives a message. "I can see the world you see. Come to high school." After receiving the message and saving someone, Hyunhak decides to change her life and starts to clean her house. Seon-ae goes to school as usual and immediately gets bullied. Even her love letter gets snatched up and made fun of by her classmates. Seon-ae gets beaten up by that gang of students, and the only thing that stops them is when the teacher comes in and rips up the love letter in front of everyone. Bizarrely, Seon-ae is the only one who gets called out and criticized. She's had enough, she just wants to go home. When she gets back to her locker, Seon-ae discovers a pair of glasses inside. Naturally, she's super curious. Over at the police station, the younger detective is lucky to be alive after the attack from the 303 killer. Even though they caught the guy, Ji-gook still feels like something's off. Weren't all the victims women? To investigate further, Ji-gook goes to the house where the killer ambushed his partner. Inside, he finds the walls covered in red lines, crisscrossing like threads. A dense network of connections. At the moment, Seon-ae has also discovered that there is a single red thread on her head, and she can't reach it. Seeing the reflection in his car, she sees that her uncle has his head completely covered in a mess of threads. She runs away in terror. As she walks, she notices that everyone has at least one thread linking them, a dense web like the tangled wires on a telephone pole. The next day, Sion A refuses to get in her uncle's car. There are just too many red threads above his head. Thinking she has gained a superpower, Sion A suddenly feels confident at school. Seeing people with and without threads makes her curious. She also realizes that the number of threads matches how many people they've slept with. Then she sees that her enemy has a thread connecting her to the teacher's lounge. Sion A is curious and tests the teachers and the threads. She goes to the teacher's lounge and discovers the two have had some kind of sexual relationship with each other. The twist: Hyun Hak has finally decided to go back to school, but she is a little socially awkward and can barely manage a simple self-introduction. Back at the police station, Ji Gyuk is curious about the records of the recent killer, Oh Dong-min, so he starts digging for information in the archive room. After finding out that he was a teacher at high school, he immediately heads to his niece's school, curious to find out if anyone knows anything about this guy. Coincidentally, Sion A's homeroom teacher is there. After some inquiries, the teacher explains that Oh Dong-min only taught math at the school, and she never remembers him wearing glasses, like the ones Ji Guk saw during the case. The teacher is shocked to learn that this former teacher was a murderer. Sion A is now being bullied by her classmates, but she refuses to take it anymore. She tells her bully not to mess with her, because Sion A has something over her, and the bully doesn't know it. Hyun Hak, not wanting to see Sion A get bullied, tries to intervene and gets caught up in the school violence. Even when threatened, she tries to drag the bully down with her, making her scared. As Ji Guk is about to leave, the teacher asks if he wants to visit Sion A, but he flat out refuses. Instead, he goes to a bar to investigate Oh Dong-min further. The bartender tells him that the guy in the photo was a regular, but lately, he's been acting different, talking and mumbling to himself. The bartender said he would mumble to himself about counting numbers, and finally, he would start fights with other customers. Also, the bartender remembers him wearing glasses. One of the bar patrons is curious as she asked, "Does anyone use a diary these days?" and drag Ji Guk with her. Sion A gets home and follows the bully. Connected by a red thread to the teacher, she sees them go into a motel. She takes this as confirmation that the thread means they're sleeping together. She uses the picture to blackmail the bully, but the bully is still hooked on the teacher and wants to know what will happen if they get caught. The teacher just gropes her and says, "We'll just have to do it again before then." The next day, at school, the teachers are buzzing with rumors about teachers sleeping with students. When the literature teacher checks his phone, he freaks out. He's been exposed. The homeroom teacher asks what's wrong, and he snaps back to reality. But he's still stressed because he's being extorted for 20 million won. Sion A and Hyun Hak start to become friends. The teacher and Ha Young are worried about what to do now that they've been exposed, and Sion A sends over a picture in order to blackmail. The teacher freaks out over the fact that the pair has been exposed to one another. Though not especially caring, Ha Young begins to feel fearful when facing a classmate, as well as the teacher. He is incredibly anxious when seeing that pictures of him together with the high school girls are starting to get around. Sion A is like a crime boss now that she has her power, always enjoying the sight of watching the couples bicker at one another. Hyun Hak then realizes and notices when Sion A started wearing glasses. Sion A says it is just that her eyesight has started to get worse. Hyun Hak still does not believe that Sion A doesn't knows about the red threads. Hyun Hak then talks about the different red threads that people have on their heads to make Sion A believe in her. In addition, Sion A describes her glasses as something she found in her personal locker, and someone just left them in there, and she simply took them. Hyun Hak brought up the recent murder in her neighborhood, but Sion A had a hard time paying attention to it. The teacher, however, is also anxious that he might be getting reported by Sion A, and the teacher also asked the head teacher about it, but she was also unsure about the recent activity. On the way home, Hyun Hak asks Sion A if she will keep wearing the glasses. Sion A wants revenge on the people who used to bully her. That night, Sion A is about to sleep with her boyfriend when she gets a message telling her to go to the rooftop. If she goes, she will get 20 million won. As she celebrates her upcoming wealth, Sion A doesn't realize that Ha Young is following her. Since the discussion about the glass that Sion A has and that she can see the people with the red threads, Ha Young had stolen the glasses that can allow one to see the red threads, and she finally realized that Sion A has seen everything with all this time. Because of the glasses that were stolen, Sion A lost it and called Hyun Hak and told her that she had lost the glasses to look at the others' relationships. She has no choice but to run to the rooftop in order to see what is up, so she can get some money at least to use. The teacher starts crying and pleading with Sion A, and explains that he is about to have his second child soon, and he does not have that much money, and if she just deletes the images that he will agree to anything she wants. The teacher all of a sudden receives a text message that his wife knows about his relationship that she is having with Ha Young, and wonders who had sent a message to his wife, and turns around, asking Seon A if she sent it to him. Seon A does not have any idea what is going on. When Hyun Hak came running to see that Seon A got thrown over the rooftop and falls to her death right in front of her face. After Sun A was taken to the hospital, her uncle immediately rushed there. Ji Wook asks Hyun Hak why she was at school at that hour. All she knew was that Sun A wanted Hyun Hak to come to school at that time. But when she arrived, Sun A had already fallen from the top. She doesn't know anything else. Hyun Hak assures Ji Wook that Sun A would never commit suicide. The literature teacher ran away because of what happened last night, causing the principal to scold the other teachers in the school, to the point where Kyu Jin angrily jumped up and argued with him. When Hyun Hak got to school, Ha Young wasn't there, which made her a little curious. Meanwhile, the English teacher in the faculty room is a person who has just broken up with his girlfriend. Since he had nowhere to stay, he came to his sister's house to ask for a place to stay. He asks his sister if it will be okay for him to stay here. The sister then tells his brother that his sister's husband rarely comes home, and that he probably wouldn't disagree with it. Hyun Hak, in order to find out the reason why Sun A fell from the top floor, has a nosy classmate who follows along to see what's going on. Since Sun A had the accident, the bully Ha Young in the class hasn't been coming to school. This classmate tells Hyun Hak that she can't help but suspect that Sun A's closest person is her. As Hyun Hak leaves, she sees a classmate with glasses that look exactly like Sun A's. She thinks that they might be the glasses that can see the red threads. Without saying anything, she directly takes the glasses from him and puts them on. However, these are just normal glasses with a similar appearance. To save herself from embarrassment, Hyun Hak asks when he became nearsighted. Meanwhile, the glasses that can see the red threads appear in front of the English teacher's desk. The English teacher asks Kyu Jin on the side if he knows who it belongs to. Kyu Jin looks at it for a while and teases that the English teacher would look great with them. The English teacher looks at the glasses and hesitates for a while, eventually putting them on. And then he finds out that the world around him is incredibly strange. Red threads appear on everyone's heads, but only when wearing these glasses. When Sun A's uncle just walks in, the English teacher is extremely shocked, thinking that he's hallucinating. Ji Wook comes here to ask Sun A's homeroom teacher if her bully is attending school. Kyu Jin only knows that ever since Sun A had an accident, Sun A's bully has gone missing. Then, Ji Wook takes out the photo from the photo book and asks Kyu Jin if he knows who this is. This student is Ji Won, Sun A's boyfriend, and he went to take photos with her on the night of the incident. Ji Wook asks him, and he honestly confesses that they were originally preparing to hook up. Sun A suddenly received a phone call, then went to take photos. After taking the photos, she went outside and discovered that her bag was missing. So she ran off like crazy, helplessly. Ji Wook can only return to the police station to review the video recordings from around that photo spot, and that is when he discovers that someone had taken Sun A's bag. Since having the glasses that can see the red threads, the English teacher feels that there is something wrong with his house, when his brother-in-law's head is slightly full of red threads. However, on the surface, he is still a little embarrassed when he comes here to stay at his sister's house. The brother-in-law, also knowing the reason why this brother came here, curiously asks why he broke up with his girlfriend. The English teacher also doesn't hesitate to tell his brother-in-law that he went home early that day, only to see his girlfriend holding hands with someone else in bed. So he decided to end everything immediately. The brother finds this decisiveness from his brother very pleasing. After finishing dinner, the brother-in-law invites the English teacher to go downstairs to buy something. The English teacher suddenly sees a thread on his brother-in-law's head, connecting straight to the 4th floor. The English teacher is curious and starts wondering if his brother has something on the 4th floor. After talking for a while about family matters and the personal matters of the two sisters, they got ready to go back upstairs. The English teacher presses the button for the 4th floor, wanting to see what's there. But when the elevator door opens, the brother-in-law blocks him and tells him that their house is on the 10th floor. Because of his niece's case being thought of as a suicide, Police Officer Han is furious with his superiors that is cannot easily dismiss this case. He asks his superiors now to think, if the person lying there was your daughter, what would you do? And the superiors angrily ask him not to go overboard, so he can only pick up his niece's phone. A colleague tells him that even the United States wouldn't be able to hack that iPhone. The next day, the English teacher still wears the thread-seeing glasses to school. Kyu Jin happily greets the teacher, and also curiously asks if the literature teacher hasn't arrived yet. Seeing that other colleagues have threads connecting, the teacher asks Kyu Jin if she knew a person that they know is having an affair. What would she do? Kyu Jin rolls her eyes before explaining how she would want to greet that person and figure out what happened. Then, like watching some morning TV shows, After the English teacher returns home, there is a package that is sent in front of his sister's house. The sister thinks that this is probably being sent to the wrong place, but the English teacher thinks back to the fact that his brother has a thread connecting to the 4th floor. Thinking that they might be having an affair, the English teacher decides to take the package down himself after arriving in front of the room and waited. The English teacher discovers that in the apartment is a young girl, so to find out the real identity, the English teacher went to the mailbox of apartment 401 and found a letter with the girl's name written on it. Apartment 401, 401's girl. After returning home, the brother-in-law is not here. The English teacher is curious as to where he went. The sister, seeing her brother looking grumpy, teases him that he has changed a lot and that he has been grumbling. The next day, at school, there are the raging rumors that the literature teacher has been exposed for having intercourse with a student, and the literature teacher committed suicide in his car, leaving a last message that he had made a mistake by having intercourse with his student. After investigating, police officer Han realizes that this teacher probably did not die inside the car, but was put there and died somewhere else. The next day, police officer Han goes to school to find Hyun-hak. He asks her if the kid is not visiting her friend, and asks about why Sunnae wasn't in school the night before. Hyun-hak mentions the glasses, but Hyun-hak doesn't reveal everything, only saying that when he wears those glasses, the police officer will know. That night, in order to probe whether his brother-in-law was cheating, the English teacher followed his brother to a Western restaurant and only saw these two people give gifts and get affectionate with each other. The English teacher starts calling his sister and asks where her husband is. His sister says that her husband is out for a meeting and is busy at the moment and will talk later. The English teacher sees the fake expressions of these two people and glances at the card that includes a room number and is now waiting for the opportunity to catch the affair in one swoop. When those two people return to their room and have taken a careful shower, the English teacher arrives to knock on the door and pull his brother-in-law out of the room and question him. However, this person who is used to cheating isn't scared at all, and on the other hand, he asked his brother-in-law why he was here. Has he not thought about that catching him this way could affect his sister and niece, or not? The English teacher calmly asks why he shouldn't be apologizing at this point. The brother-in-law sees that he has been followed for a long time and begs his younger brother to. He will end things here today and asks for just a little more time. He continues to promise. The English teacher, not wanting to see his despicable brother-in-law anymore at this place, decides to leave this house and move abroad. Before leaving, his sister did not forget to tell him to remember to call home after getting to the place. When he arrives at school to clean up his belongings, Hyun-jin stops by to ask teacher Kim if he has cleaned up the morning TV show or not. Although she is a little sad that the teachers are gradually leaving, Hyun-jin feels a little bit sad. She asks teacher Kim about the student Ha-young and if she went to school or not. He still hasn't seen the student Ha-young. Throughout this morning, the teacher skimmed the girl's message board and saw the necklace that she posted. And its timeline was exactly the night before that Kim's brother-in-law gave to her. Not only that, but she also had an ultrasound announcement announcing that she was pregnant. So teacher Kim hurriedly returned to the apartment complex. Because security doesn't allow taxis to enter, teacher Kim can only run inside and only sees people gathering in front of a person who is going crazy and crashing into the woman Chae-jin's car. The teacher Kim approaches to see that it is his sister's car. As soon as he pulls his sister out, she asks the teacher, "Why did he do that to me?" The teacher Kim does not understand what is happening, and at the same time, the brother-in-law runs back and sees this chaotic scene, as well as that woman named Chae-jin also crying and hugging his brother Kim. Teacher Kim can't bear it anymore and runs straight to his brother-in-law and punches him hard in the face. Teacher Kim's sister stops him and says that that is not her husband, but it is Tae-sok, the husband of that woman Kia. The English teacher, Kim's sister, said that he was afraid that she would kill the child in Kia's belly. So he came here to help her, but that it's his sister herself is the weird person. She is the one who wants to harm that woman, Kia, and that is why she decided to crash her car. However, she couldn't bring herself to harm an innocent life. At this time, the niece returned. At least, teacher Kim still doesn't want this niece to face the truth that her father has been having an affair with another woman. Meanwhile, at the police station, after looking at the literature teacher's suicide note, police officer Han suddenly wonders if his niece also wrote a suicide note, like the literature teacher. So he immediately ran home and started rummaging through Sunnae's room, but only found a notebook. So he waits for Hyun-hak to return and asks what the things drawn inside are, and the glasses that she mentioned. Hyun-hak then tells him that things like the red threads are called S-lines. Hyun-hak was born seeing these threads, so she doesn't need the glasses. Officer Han, after hearing this, thinks it's utterly ridiculous, but still has some doubts. So he asks Hyunhak if someone who knew about the glasses, then pushed Sun A off the building. Hyunhak tells him that there is not only one pair of glasses, but more than one. He is now surprised to learn that this kid can see things that other people can't. He must be living a miserable life. At this time, Hyunhak suddenly finds herself standing in front of Sun A. Seeing the sign announcing her death, she immediately wakes up in fear. Seeing her startled awake like this, her classmate Han asks what happened in her dream. Hyunhak mentions that she must have been feeling weak, so that's why she suddenly fell asleep like that. Meanwhile, at school, another teacher can also see the red lines on other people's heads, after being scolded for not being able to do the job properly. Although she may have been unsatisfied, after looked at that other teacher's head does not have any threads on it. The woman's coworker scoffs, telling her that she knows nothing about life, and she has the nerve to talk like that. At lunchtime, teacher Kim is also asked by her colleagues about her hometown, or where she used to work. She proudly says that she used to be an actress performing on the streets, only for her to be looked down upon by the others. Then changes the topic to the music teacher, causing Kim to turn her head and look at him. She is then flustered. However, in addition to being a teacher, Teacher Kim also has a hobby, which is cosplay and working at her motel, a family motel. Meanwhile, Detective Han is still with his colleague searching for information about the case of his niece Sun A, thinking that the narrative about her standing in front of the railing and then jumping off to kill herself does not feel right. Detective Han is half believing and half doubting about the glasses that Hyunhak talks about. He asks his colleague, if you wear a pair of glasses that can see if this person is having an affair, would you wear them? The colleague asked in surprise, are there really such strange glasses? The next day, two classmates go to Hyunhak's house to hang out because they are a little bored. For some reason, the three huddle together in a room, sitting close to each other, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, a pink-haired girl rents a room. These people who rent the room professionally rent the room and go directly to the floor above. The girl's classmate says that I have definitely seen this person somewhere before. She is Teacher Kim, a person who likes to suffer after meeting someone she likes. As for Hyunhak's two friends, they went to the roof and shouted, I want to have sex, without the slightest hesitation. Her classmate said, yeah, right, whatever. You don't even have a boyfriend. At this time, the girl who rented the room just now comes out. The classmate says that this person is an office employee at school. Hyunhak looks at the girl only has one thread on her head. When Teacher Kim finally gets back to her rundown apartment, she immediately starts changing clothes. Then she puts on these special glasses. These aren't just any glasses. These allow her to see the red threads of fate that supposedly connect people. She starts looking out over the street, trying to spot these threads. Meanwhile, Ji-wook keeps reviewing the old case that involves Hyunhak's past. We're talking about a really messed up situation. Hyunhak's parents killing each other when she was just a little girl, 5 years old, and she witnessed the whole thing. Now he's wondering if Kim's gone crazy with this idea about the red threads, but he can't shake the image of those threads he saw plastered all over Hyunhak's room. So he goes to the hospital to ask Hyunhak if his granddaughter has an S-line. The uncle quickly realized that she had one and asked if that thread connected to Ji-won, the kid in her class. Hyunhak only knows that she doesn't have a connection to Ji-won. Hyunhak wonders if the person who pushed Sun A might be connected to her with a red thread. That's something you can't rule out. The next day, Teacher Kim goes straight to the music room. She admires the music teacher's talent, so she takes the initiative to go into the room and start talking to him. The teacher recognizes her as Teacher Kim. They chat for a bit, getting to know each other, and suddenly, Kim realizes that her own red thread is connected to this music teacher. Hyunhak is on her way home when a classmate stops her, asking her to hang out. She wonders where her other friend, the girl, is. He says she's probably busy and couldn't come, since he's got nothing else to do. The classmate takes Hyunhak to the school swimming pool. He mentions how he's noticed she likes quiet, empty places like this. She looks around, doesn't think too much about it, and just jumps in the pool. The classmate is worried and jumps in after her, but Hyunhak's just having fun, excited to be swimming. After they get out, the classmate even thoughtfully grabs her a warm towel, because he's worried she's cold. Then they're both slurping down ramen, looking like they're having a blast. The classmate gets curious and asks Hyunhak why she acted a bit strangely earlier. Hyunhak just comes right out and says that she can see a red thread on everyone's head. The classmate asks if he has one. Hyunhak says that he doesn't. You don't have one, and neither does Kyung-jin, she says. The classmate is relieved about this. Hyunhak wonders why he's acting suspiciously. He says that he wasn't, but Hyunhak said, what if you disappeared? No one would know, except me and Kyung-jin. After their date together, She is smitten by the actions of her classmate. Over at the police station, Officer Han's colleague asks him, "Are you dating anyone these days?" "I'm way too busy with my niece's case to think about dating," he replies, but he remembers seeing teacher Lee's unbuttoned shirt, and he is having feelings for her. He says that he's curious about someone but doesn't want to sleep with her. "I guess I'm in love." So Kim, the teacher, like every other day, gets all dolled up with the pink hair and heads to the motel, the same one she always uses. Now Hyun-hak is working, cleaning rooms at that very motel, when she hears a weird whispering sound. So she goes closer to the door and overhears this confession. Someone admitting they've slept with a ton of men. Turns out it's Kim, and she's screaming into a mirror inside the room. She's dealing with some serious issues. She's super anxious about making noise, like she's constantly worried someone will hear her. Even at school, she's scared people will hear her breathing or something. But here, in this motel, she feels free, like she can finally be herself, but because of that, she finds the glasses that let her see S lines. She feels perfect when she has these glasses. Then, out of nowhere, a guest checks into the room next door. Kim's completely stunned because it's the guy she likes from school, the music teacher. He's sitting in the room alone, smoking. Then an older woman comes in. They barely talk before they are all over each other. Kim was excited, but now feels like a fool. After witnessing what went down, and knowing her crush is still in room 205, Kim decides to extend her stay in room 206, the one next to his. Then, she starts hauling fire extinguishers into her room, like she's planning something big. She waits for the next person to hook up with the music teacher. When the time is right, she knocks them out and locks them up. Afterwards, she goes straight to the teacher's room, like she wants to get it on with him too. The music teacher is completely shocked to see her there. Kim just comes right out with it and confesses, "I've slept with so many men lately." He doesn't understand what she's trying to say. She tells him, "Sleeping with all those strangers can't fill the emptiness in my heart." The music teacher starts getting scared, thinking she's totally crazy. He tries to leave, but Kim starts throwing stuff at him. He loses his balance and falls, hitting his head and passing out. Then, Kim starts to do things. She just slips some kind of drug into his water, and then lies down next to him, finally enjoying the pleasure she's been craving. The pleasure she couldn't find sleeping with strangers. Suddenly, Kim realizes something's wrong. The teacher is bleeding from the head, and dies right there in front of her. Before he dies, she even wants to enjoy herself one last time. It's insane. After that crazy moment, she locks herself in the bathroom and starts sticking safety pins all over herself, continuing to ramble about how she's slept with so many men. "What I don't get," she says to herself, "if that's true, why does she only have one red thread on her head?" Later, when Hyun-hak goes to clean the room, she finds the woman tied up. The woman said she was attacked by a crazy woman and had her clothes stolen. When Hyun-hak suspects something's not right, in room 205, she goes in and sees the dead body. That's when Officer Han is called to the scene. Han asks if anyone at the crime scene saw something like glasses. He asks Hyun-hak if she saw the S line of the woman in the bathroom. She says she just saw one thread and doesn't know why she did it. The answer is probably in those glasses they're looking for. Hyun-hak mentions that after putting on the glasses, she imagined herself to be special. Back at the crime scene, Officer Han sees the glasses that Hyun-hak talked about. The office lady liked to wear them when she came to the motel. He gets curious and puts them on, completely shocked to see a ton of red threads above his own head. Back at the police station, Ji-wook's blown away by how many red threads his colleagues have, floating above their heads. Turns out 2 of them have been secretly hooking up. Dong-sik only has 2 threads. When Ji-wook asks, it turns out he only dated one girl before getting married. It's like they're both cops, but living in totally different worlds. Just then, a high school girl walks in to report something. Ji-wook notices she's got 4 red threads. Suddenly, he gets an idea. He pressures a male student into going on a date with Sun A. They check things out in the hospital, and it turns out Sun A doesn't have a thread connected to this guy. When he presses further, the guy says Sun A told him she hated someone so much, she wanted to kill them. But he doesn't know who it is. Hyun-hak's birthday is coming up on November honest, so Kyung-jin wants to throw her a party. Before that though, Jun-sun wants to meet up with Hyun-hak, just the 2 of them. Then, out of nowhere, Hyun-hak gets a text from an unknown number, inviting her to a birthday party also on November honest. It's the mysterious person who texted her before saying, "I see the world you see." Who is this person and what do they want? The next day, Hyun-hak notices that Ji-na, a classmate, has 4 threads above her head. She's the girl who was at the police station yesterday. At the same time, Dong-sik asks Ji-wook to help him investigate this case. Turns out, Ji-na reported being sexually assaulted a week ago. She went to a male classmate's house for drinks. They used to be pop star trainees together, so they're close. After drinking, she fell asleep. When she woke up, her underwear was inside out. She insists she's never had sex before. Ji-wook knows she's lying, but can't call her out on it. The next day, the two cops go to the school to find the male student. These high schoolers already have red threads. Ji-wook is disgusted because when he was in high school, he was pure. Just then, they run into Kyu-jin. Ji-wook is shocked to see that she doesn't have a single thread. Is she still a virgin? She notices his new glasses and compliments him. Ji-wook blushes. When they meet the male student, Han-ju, they see he only has one red thread. He seems arrogant and acts like he's the boss, saying he didn't have sex with Ji-na and wouldn't want to do that. After Ji-wook finishes interrogating him, he accidentally runs into Hyun-hak. She immediately recognizes the glasses and demands that he hand them over. But Ji-wook says they're evidence in a case, and he can't give them to her. Hyun-hak is worried because these glasses are dangerous and can completely change the person wearing them. They're arguing when Kyu-jin sees them. Hyun-hak gets angry and leaves. Ji-wook uses the chance to ask Kyu-jin out for a meal sometime and says goodbye. Kyu-jin watches the giant bundle of threads above Ji-wook's head and smiles to herself, a very mysterious smile. Ji-wook and Dong-sik go to the entertainment company, where Ji-na and Han-ju used to be trainees. The director says he advised Ji-na to give up because she wasn't talented or hardworking, and she was always taking the other trainees out for drinks and parties. Dong-sik complains that this case is a headache. They don't know who to believe. They're both minors, so they can't interrogate them properly. If only they had a lie detector, it'd make things easier. He was just kidding around, but little does he know. Ji-wook actually has a pair of glasses that can detect lies. The next day, the two cops continue with the questioning. Han-ju claims Ji-na was the one always chasing after him, insisting on going to his place, and he has the text messages to prove it. On the other hand, Ji-na deleted the text messages, washed the clothes she wore that day, and only reported the incident a week later. Super suspicious, right? Ji-wook purposely opens the door a crack to observe, and he notices that the single red thread on Han-ju's head isn't connected to Ji-na. He asks her one last time for the truth, then tells Dong-sik to drop the case. That evening, Ji-wook gets home, and Hyun-hak is waiting for him. She asks to borrow the glasses to try them on, but for her, it's no different than not wearing glasses at all. He admits he looked at her parents' case file and reassures her that it wasn't her fault. Even though these glasses are dangerous, he believes they can also help someone, just like Hyun-hak saved that girl's life in the apartment across the hall. He reveals that the glasses helped him discover that Ji-na was falsely accusing Han-ju and allowed him to close the case. To his surprise, Hyun-hak says that maybe Ji-na was telling the truth because just a week ago, she saw that she didn't have any threads above her head. Luckily, Dong-sik hasn't finished the report yet. The two cops head to Han-ju's house to investigate. It takes him a while to answer the door. Inside, the house is incredibly neat and clean. After a few minutes, he makes up an excuse about having to get up early to kick the cops out. Meanwhile, Hyun-hak goes to the motel that was shut down after the murder. Little does she know, a girl with long hair is secretly following her. Hyun-hak suspects someone intentionally planted the glasses at the crime scene for Ji-wook to find. That's why she came back to look for clues. Suddenly, a shadow appears, scaring her half to death. It's Jun's son. He happened to see her going in and got curious. Seeing that he's easily frightened, Hyun-hak starts teasing him. "You have something on your head." He gets scared and hugs her. The atmosphere suddenly shifts. Jun's son closes his eyes, waiting for a kiss, almost making Hyun-hak laugh out loud. At that moment, she imagines a thread connecting her and him, and they finally share their first sweet kiss. At the same time, Ji-wook and Dong-sik are rummaging through a pile of old clothes donated to charity right below Han-ju's apartment building. They find a bedsheet the same color as his blankets and pillows. When they went into Han-ju's apartment, Ji-wook noticed that the bedsheet was a different color from the blankets and pillows, completely mismatched with the interior. He threw away a perfectly good sheet, clearly trying to hide something. The next day, Han-ju is called in for questioning again. He calmly explains that the bedsheet was torn, so he gave it away, and the blood stains on it could be from Ji-na having a nosebleed or being on her period. When Ji-wook asks him more about that day, he says he gave Ji-na whiskey. She finished a whole bottle and still wanted more, refusing to leave. So he went out to buy more beer, and she passed out after drinking the beer. The police checked the convenience store security camera and saw that he really did go to buy beer. Ji-wook suspects that while he was out, someone snuck in and sexually assaulted Ji-na. Just then, he happened to see 4 guys leaving the apartment building during that time frame, and they had gone in an hour earlier. He starts counting the number of red threads above their heads. Sure enough, after leaving the apartment building, each of them has an extra thread. One of them went from 0 threads to 1. There's no doubt about it. They've found the perpetrators. The next day, Hyunhak also notices that the 4 threads on Jina's head are connected to those 4 guys from school. She immediately grabs her phone to call Ji-wook. But just then he shows up. The 4 guys are immediately taken in for questioning. But they're still being stubborn and not confessing. Ji-wook notices that the guy with only 1 thread is the most agitated. So he tells him to get in the car so he can drive him home. On the way, the guy gets even more nervous when he realizes they're not going towards his house, but in the opposite direction. The 2 cops stop right in front of Hanju's apartment building and get out, leaving the guy alone in the car. Dong-sik is getting anxious because their temporary detention period is almost up, and they don't have any reason to keep them locked up. But Ji-wook calmly tells him to keep a poker face and that he'll crack in just 10 more minutes. A few minutes later, Dong-sik drags him out, pretending to take him to see the scene of the crime. That's when he freaks out and tries to run away, but Dong-sik catches him quickly. Ji-wook handcuffs him to the car and threatens him, saying that out of the 4 of them, he's the most suspicious. After crying and struggling for a while, he finally decides to tell the truth. He and the other 3 guys did do it, but the mastermind was Hanju. They all knew he had a thing for Jina for a long time. That day, the other guys asked him how much he'd pay to sleep with her. When he got there, Jina was already unconscious, because Hanju had tricked her into taking sleeping pills. At this point, the other 3 guys have no choice but to confess as well. They all say Hanju was the one who planned everything. The pervert even watched the whole thing from beginning to end. Ji-wook finds the bottle of sleeping pills in the fire extinguisher cabinet at Hanju's house, but he still stubbornly denies everything. After all, he didn't do it directly. Still, there's evidence and 4 witnesses to convict him in court. That's all Ji-wook can do. If only we could let the judge wear these glasses. But Hyunhak thinks that the glasses don't help people see the whole truth. If I had a huge bundle of threads like you, I'd probably think less, huh? Just then, the nursing home calls. Ji-wook has to tell Hyunhak to get out of the car so he can rush over there. Hyunhak grabs her phone, intending to ask Jun's son to come pick her up. It turns out that Ji-wook's dad has disappeared again. This time, he didn't go up to the rooftop like last time. Instead, the security camera shows a woman leading him out to a car. Ji-wook is shocked when he realizes that the person is teacher Kyu-jin. She even deliberately looked up so the camera could get a clear shot of her face. Just then, an unknown number sends a picture of Son A in her hospital bed. Ji-wook frantically speeds to the hospital and rushes into Son A's room. When he sees that she's safe and sound, he lets out a sigh of relief. But that's when he notices that the thread above Son A's head is moving and connecting to something outside the door. Ji-wook immediately draws his gun, on alert. The door slowly opens, and the person who walks in is his own senile father. Ji-wook is stunned, not understanding how he got there. But that's when he sees the shocking truth that he can't believe. The single thread above Son A's head is connected directly to his father's head. Ji-wook goes berserk and pushes his dad to the floor, intending to kill him right there. Fortunately, he still has a glimmer of reason left to stop himself. But this truth is too painful for him to bear. Why did you do this to her, Dad? How will she live with that? At that moment, somewhere else, Hyunhak's hands are covered in blood. Crying uncontrollably, she picks up her phone to call Ji-wook. I need your help. A girl working a shift at a coffee shop receives a message from an unknown number. She opens it, and she nearly collapses on the spot. It's a hidden camera video of her and her boyfriend being intimate. She doesn't know how, but she was clearly being watched and recorded without knowing it. The next day at school, the atmosphere is completely different. Everyone's eyes are on her. Every whisper behind her back makes her feel like she's suffocating. As soon as she sits down, she gets a text from her best friend asking, "Is that your video?" That night, her phone exploded with messages, including one from the person who released the video. Why aren't you answering? Do you think reporting it to the police will make the video disappear? From that day on, she's been like a lost soul. She feels like the whole world is cornering her, so exhausted that she doesn't even have tears left to cry. Looking at the cars zooming by outside, only one thought remains in her head. If I disappeared, would things be easier? She gets up and walks aimlessly, as if her body is pushing itself out of this world. But just then, someone pulls her back from behind. It's teacher Kyu-jin. Kyu-jin bought coffee and then took out a pair of glasses, saying she found them nearby and they might be hers. Even though the girl says she didn't drop anything, Kyu-jin still leaves the glasses with her and leaves. Earlier, Hyunhak met Jun's son at the bus stop. Jun's son rushed over as soon as he saw the message, smiling as usual, and didn't forget to wish her an early birthday. Even though it's tomorrow, Hyunhak hesitates for a long time. and then quietly asks Jun-sun to go to a motel with her. Jun-sun's face turns red, so embarrassed that he doesn't know how to react. Hyun-hak gathers all her courage and confesses that if she's going to be intimate with someone, she only wants it to be Jun-sun. The guy is stunned and then asks directly, "So, you like me?" Hyun-hak nods quickly, as if afraid she'll take it back. She even pulls out a condom she has already prepared, making Jun-sun laugh awkwardly. Then Jun-sun gently kisses Hyun-hak and leads her inside. It's their first time, and immediately afterward, a red thread appears above their heads, thin but bright, connecting the two of them. Having sex for the first time, Hyun-hak feels very strange, as if she's stepping into another world. Jun-sun is so happy, and his eyes are always full of love. Afterward, they hold hands and stroll under the streetlights, as if the world only consists of the two of them. Jun-sun wants to ask her to get something to eat, but Hyun-hak is worried she'll miss the last bus, so he runs to buy some food quickly. Hyun-hak stands and watches him, her eyes only seeing Jun-sun at that moment. He disappears into the store, and she turns back, absent-mindedly looking at the glass window on the side of the road, innocently playing with the red thread above her head. Just then, a loud noise rings out, followed by someone's piercing scream from afar. Hyun-hak is startled, and quickly runs to where the crowd is gathering, and then her heart drops into an abyss. Jun-sun is lying in a pool of blood, his birthday cake scattered beside him. His body has been pierced by several construction steel bars that fell from somewhere. Hyun-hak collapses, tears welling up, unable to make a sound. She's always thought of herself as a cursed child, someone whom everyone who loves will leave. Her parents left that way. She used to think no one could truly love her until she met Jun-sun. He was the only one who made her believe she could change, but life is cruel in a way that gives no warning. Hyun-hak hasn't even recovered from the shock of losing Jun-sun when she receives a message from an unknown number, containing a short message and a video. Kyung-jin is tied up, her face extremely panicked, as if someone is playing a sick game of scaring her. She's completely confused, not knowing what to do other than call the police officer, Ji-wook. Ji-wook is still reeling from finding out who the owner of the thread on Sun-a's head is. He asks Hyun-hak if she knows who it is. Hyun-hak says that if she knew, she would have already told him. Hyun-hak then tells Ji-wook something she's never told anyone before. Every year on her birthday, she receives a congratulatory card. At first, she thought her mom was secretly sending it, but then she realized that someone was waiting for her to grow up, waiting for the day she truly became a woman. And yesterday, even though her birthday hadn't arrived yet, she chose that day for herself. Hyun-hak gives Ji-wook the text message, inviting her to meet from an unknown number. After looking at it, he immediately realizes that the person who called Hyun-hak, the person who sent in the glasses, and Sun-a, it's all the same person. A mysterious figure pulling the strings in the shadows. The security camera footage from the hospital flashes through his mind, and the person who appears clearly in it is teacher Kyu-jin. Everything seems to be coming together, but the strange thing is that when they investigate her identity, there's no one named Lee Kyu-jin at all. Hyun-hak's homeroom teacher never existed on paper. As soon as she arrives at school, Hyun-hak immediately notices a classroom with the lights on. Without waiting for anyone, she bursts in. Ji-wook follows closely behind, but when he enters the room, he doesn't see anything at all. It's just an empty room, with no one there. Meanwhile, Hyun-hak sees Kyung-jin tied up in the middle of the room. Her friend stammers that Hyun-hak texted her to meet here, and then she doesn't remember anything else. Hyun-hak frantically unties her and pulls her out into the hallway to find Ji-wook. But strangely, all three of them are in the same hallway, but they can't see each other. Hyun-hak and Kyung-jin run down the stairs, but the more they run, the more panicked they become. The staircase goes on and on. Every time they turn, thinking they've reached the bottom floor, they look up and see the same scenery as before. Why is it the same floor? Someone help us. I think we're trapped in the school. Meanwhile, Ji-wook runs up the stairs, heading straight for the roof. Hyun-hak and Kyung-jin hear the noise and immediately start running upward. But strangely, the rooftop is completely empty. At this point, Ji-wook gets lost in a very strange space, where the ground is turned upside down to become the sky. A group of people dressed in white is gathered, as if they're organizing some kind of cult ritual, and the one who will carry it out is the girl who works at the coffee shop. It turns out that after she put on the glasses and saw the S line, Kyu-jin returned, suggesting that she kill people to erase the threads on her head. Very soon, everyone will be able to see the S line without glasses. When that happens, the threads on your head will become a weakness that others can exploit. So from that point on, this girl started killing all the people she had slept with. The threads on her head decreased from 4 to 3, then 2, then 1. Today, she will cleanse her final sin. When this world turns red, we will all be reborn. The unlucky guy frantically begs for mercy, but she still attacks him brutally. Ji-wook witnesses everything, still unable to believe what he's seeing. At this point, Hyun-hak confesses to Kyung-jin that since she was born, she's been seeing strange things. To her surprise, Kyung-jin is also wearing glasses and has been seeing the S-line for a long time. She reveals that her homeroom teacher said, "When you die, you can see the S-line without glasses." At this moment, Hyun-hak is certain that Kyu-jin is the one behind everything. In that bizarre space, the mastermind Kyu-jin appears, not in her usual innocent and unafraid demeanor, but with an entire forest of red threads above her head. Ji-wook's bundle of threads is barely worth mentioning compared to hers. Suddenly, she turns her gaze towards him, causing the others to turn around as well. She removes a white cloth, revealing that the next person to be cleansed is his father. Ji-wook frantically rushes over to untie his father, but she hands him a knife to finish him off. That's the only way to save Sun-A. If the whole world sees the thread connecting Sun-A and him, she definitely won't be able to live. Ji-wook tremblingly raises the knife, but at the moment of decision, he doesn't stab his father, but turns and stabs Kyu-jin instead. But she has extraordinary strength, easily blocking it and knocking him away. Then, she coldly stabs his father in the neck, causing him to quickly die from blood loss. At this point, Ji-wook pulls out his gun, but Kyu-jin isn't afraid at all. "In this space it seems I'm untouchable. A normal person can't kill me," she says, then grabs him by the collar like a chicken. By this point, she freely admits that she was the one who pushed Sun-A from the roof. If the girl weren't in the hospital, Ji-wook wouldn't have cared. She orchestrated everything for Ji-wook to discover that terrible truth. Meanwhile, Hyun-hak is being strangled from behind by Kyung-jin. Fortunately, she manages to knock the glasses to the ground, causing her to let go. Hyun-hak quickly stomps on the glasses, shattering them into pieces. At this point, Kyung-jin seems to suddenly wake up, confused and not understanding what just happened. But something is very strange. Kyung-jin discovers that Hyun-hak's eyes have turned blue, and 6 drops of blood from the wound on her face automatically separate and slowly float up into the sky. Inside those drops of blood are countless red threads. In an instant, Hyun-hak suddenly finds herself in a strange space, with people dressed in white. At this point, Kyu-jin throws Ji-wook aside and turns to Hyun-hak. She reveals that Hyun-hak was born with the ability to see red threads, precisely because of this day. It's not a curse, but a gift, a blessing. People are very curious. Everyone wants to see the S-line. Her existence is a representation of that desire. At this point, the people dressed in white all crush their glasses and stand in a circle surrounding the two women. In Hyun-hak's despair, Kyu-jin takes out a knife and coldly strikes down, but someone rushes out to take the blow for her and falls to the ground. It's her mother, who has been missing for years. Her mother tearfully apologizes to her for being too late and admits that she had those glasses. She personally witnessed the red thread connecting her husband and her sister. "It's not your fault," she manages to say before taking her last breath. Hyun-hak painfully rushes towards Kyu-jin and gets stabbed directly in the stomach. The drops of blood from the wound don't flow down but float up into the sky. Kyu-jin also controls Hyun-hak to fly up as well. The blood in her body suddenly shoots out, turning into countless red threads. They gather at one point, quickly weaving into a giant ball of red thread. Kyu-jin's voice rings out again. "Your death will bring mankind the eye of God. Blessings will be bestowed." When the last drops of blood float up, Hyun-hak slowly falls. Kyu-jin completes the ritual, causing the ball of thread to glow brightly and then burst open. Just as she is reveling in her triumph, Hyun-hak manages to get up and stab her twice. "It's too late. Both of us have completed our missions," she says before collapsing. Losing their leader, the people panic and run around like a swarm of bees breaking apart. Ji-wook, still in a daze, gets bumped into by someone, causing him to drop the glasses. In an instant, the two of them are back on the school rooftop, where Kyung-jin is waiting. Ji-wook absent-mindedly goes to pick up the glasses from the edge of the railing, almost falling off himself. Luckily, Hyun-hak manages to pull him back, reminding him to go visit Sun-A to bring him back to his senses. At this moment, the sky is completely red, a bizarre phenomenon that causes everyone to rush out to watch and take pictures. Hyun-hak and Ji-wook are also watching the red sky. Suddenly a bundle of threads connects to Ji-wook's head. The bundle of threads has made a comeback. At the same time, threads appear above everyone's head, causing them all to be confused and amazed. "What is this? Why did it suddenly grow in my head?" The world is now completely red, reminding Hyun-hak of something Kyu-jin once said. "Someday the world you see will be seen by everyone. A world where everyone can see the S-line." In the end, Hyun-hak has become a normal person, just as she always wished. A year has passed, and the terrible chaos has shaken the world. People have been trying to figure out why the S-Line appeared, but they haven't found an answer. Now, most people wear masks and even cooking pots to cover their heads when they go out. Sun A has finally woken up in a world full of red threads. She was reborn without a single one. The uncle and niece don't say a word to each other about the past, only feeling relieved that the other is still alive. But now, Sun A is very embarrassed whenever she goes out with her uncle. Why? Look at the thread on your head. Everyone is staring at you. Poor Hyun-hak has fallen into solitude. She often visits the cemetery to see Jun's son, bringing him warm clothes when winter comes. Suddenly a familiar voice rings out. Hyun-hak. Hyun-hak frantically looks around, thinking she's hallucinating. But it's not. Hyo-jin is actually still alive. So, the thread of death has ended here. So, what do you guys think about these red threads? If you had a pair of these glasses, would you wear them? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. See you in the next video.